Hello dear students, in this class we are discussing about the data processing. As you know, after collection of the data we have to do data processing. This data processing is very important in your project work also. The data collected is to be processed in order to reduce the bulk data into manageable form or into a meaningful size. This process involves mainly four steps, that is editing, coding, classification and tabulation. The first step is editing. It is done to examine whether there is any error or omission in the data collected. So it helps to ensure the accuracy of the data. This editing can be done in two stages. First one is field editing and the second one is central editing. Field editing is done by the investigator or the person who has collected the data. For example, at the time of collecting data, the enumerator may write short forms or put some marks or write briefly. So, in this field editing stage, he have to rewrite it clearly. Next one is central editing. It is done at office level. Such editing is done to correct the errors such as entering the wrong places, recorded in months when it is needed to be done in weeks, etc. Coding is the next step. In coding, we are assigning numbers, colors or symbols to answers so that the responses can be grouped into different numbers or categories. We should adopt these coding rules, or we should prepare the coding rules at the time of preparing the questionnaire itself. The next step is classification. In this classification, the data collected is grouped. Homogeneous groups are prepared to organize complex and scattered data. It helps in the representation of data in simply and help in the comparison of the data. The classification can be done in simple form or in manifold form. In simple classification, we consider only one attribute. For example, we can say sales of the past 5 years. It is a simple classification. In manifold classification, we consider two or more attributes simultaneously. For example, if you are preparing the income level of different employees in your organization on the basis of gender, it is a manifold classification. There will be gender wise classification and also income wise classification. There are different types of classification of data. First one, qualitative classification. These are done on the basis of qualitative attributes like age, gender, etc. Next one is quantitative. The data which can be represented in quantitative forms can be classified on the basis of quantitative. For example, we can say profit, sales, income, etc. Next one is geographical classification. It is done on the basis of area, rural area, urban area. In that way we can do. Saying about chronological classification, it is done on the basis of time. For example, we can say the data of last 5 years, the expected sales of next few months. It's a chronological classification. This classification can also be done on the basis of class intervals, that is in a continuous series. For that we can use both inclusive and exclusive classes. The next step is tabulation. In this process, the data collected and classified is represented in rows and columns. This classification can also be done in simple form or in complex form as we do in classification. Next, we can go through the important principles of classification and tabulation. Saying about the principles of classification, the number of classes should be preferably low, that means in between 5 and 15. We should start the classes by 0, 5 or either multiples of 5. For example, we can say first class like 0 to 10, then 10 to 20, like that we can start. Then it's better to adopt exclusive classes We know that exclusive classes are like this, 10 to 20, then 20 to 30. So it is better to adopt exclusive classes. Intervals should be equal for all classes. For suppose we are taking C equal to 10 for first class, we should ensure that we should take 10 for the next coming classes also. Open-ended classes should be avoided. The classes like below 100 or above 5000 are like open-ended classes. As far as possible, we should avoid such classes. Next, we can discuss about the principles of tabulation. Size is very important in the principle of tabulation. Then clarity, adequate title, concise, and the number of the table number and the arrangement are the important principles of the tabulation. We can explain them. First one, clarity. The content of the table should be very clear and easy to read. Simplicity is another important principle. We should avoid unnecessary complexity in the table. The arrangement of the table should be in a logical order. We should give proper heading to table and also to rows and columns to represent what is included in that table. We should maintain consistency. For example, saying about the decimal places, if you are taking 2 decimal place, we should follow that 2 decimal place all in the table. If you are taking the data in lakhs, we should represent the data in lakhs forms in the whole table. Footnotes are the explanatory notes given below the table to provide additional information about the data given in the table. You know that we are not able to give detailed data inside the table, so we can use footnotes. The next, we can use borders, shadings or highlights in order to give more emphasis to the data in a table, which is more important. We should avoid repeatedness or duplication of data in the table. We should ensure the accuracy and consistency of the data, or we can say there should be data integrity. Now we can simply go through the difference between classification and tabulation. In classification, we are grouping the data and categorizing the data in different classes. It is done to arrange the data in a manageable or meaningful manner. But saying about a tabulation, here we are organizing the data or summarizing the data. And the tabulation, we are representing the data in rows and columns. And tabulation aims to provide a clear overview on the data, and it helps in the analysis of the data. So, the classification is done after collection of the data, and tabulation is done after the classification of the data. Here is an example for classification. We can classify the birds into different classes on the basis of their feathers, habitats, behavior, etc. We can classify the books into romance, fiction. That way we can classify the books. We can also classify the musics. But while doing the tabulation, for example, we can say sales data, population statistics. That's another example for tabulation. Then this is a simple way of classification and tabulation difference to study. Classification is done after collection of the data, and